You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Park Rangers, the Locked On Coogs here, breaking out Houston's big 65-46 victory over the TCU Horned Frogs. And, I don't mean to be the Debbie Downer here. I think there were stretches of this game, especially in the first half, where it felt closer than the 19-point game it needed to be. And I, on Twitter and in digesting this game a little bit, kind of felt like it was a bit of a roller coaster, up and down and up and down and up and down. And get up by 15, it shrinks to 7. Get up by 12, it shrinks to 4, and back and forth and back and forth. I think, someone posed the question, I think it's accurate. Is that something to worry about? And I think that the truth is that Houston's defense is so good. And they're the veterans they've got know exactly what coverages they're putting in for different pick and roll situations. And when I say coverages, I really mean if you people talk to the staff much more than I don't mean to act like I'm the most insightful person on this. But when you listen to them break down their game plans, they have different coverages for every player on every type of pick and roll action from every spot on the floor, meaning Noah Reynolds on the left wing gets covered differently than Noah Reynolds on the right wing. And both of those are different than Jace Posey on the left wing or right wing or left base. It's very complex and complicated. And having a veteran team they've got allows them to pull out all the stops. That's who they are, right? And everything's super intentional, and they all are making the reads and playing together and playing on the string. And as long as they're doing that, I really do think they can weather these offensive roller coaster up and down kind of hot streaks, hot spurts. Obviously, the 16 threes they made against BYU would be great. And this one they made half as many and won by 19. I think they're okay there, right? Like that's the way this thing goes. For what it's worth, TCU was averaging over 72 points a night this year. A lot of those being fast break points because they have the same Jamie Dixon, tough, muck it up kind of defense. Houston held them to 46, right? Like that's just kind of who Houston is. They hold teams to 20 and 30 and sometimes more points below their season averages. When we talk about BYU being an 85 point per game team, Houston held them to 55. Talk about Oklahoma State being in the 80s, Houston held them to 47. Like that's just who Houston is, right? And if they're going to continue to do that, they can ride out those like dry spells of offense across the board here. The only Big 12 game I'd be worried about those dry spells hurting you right now, and I haven't watched a whole lot of Cincinnati, but people tell me they're good, and I've got to go watch them. I got a Cincinnati buddy. He actually hosts the Locks on Red show, and he's a season ticket holder for them and stuff like that. He's telling me that they're going to win the conference. We'll see. But Iowa State, and that's mostly because Iowa State plays a similar level defense to Houston, if we're being honest. And that to me also means that those hot stretches that Houston finds where Emmanuel hit 2 in a row or the team hits 3 in a row where you get 2 big dunks back to back on fast, those are going to happen fewer and farther between against an Iowa State. And so you got to kind of make the most of them. And if you can make those dry spells not so dry, for lack of a better phrase, you got to do a lot there. I also think for what's worth, LJ Cryer, I guess, was 4 of 9 tonight from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. He hasn't been right for 48 hours, and it sounds like he's got some stomach stuff going on. And college kids get sick, pros get sick. We heard the Michael Jordan flu game and all that kind of stuff, right? And I think once LJ's kind of more of himself, both in movement, minute workload, etc., you're also going to see the floor spread some. Right now, you got Emmanuel doing a lot of heavy lifting on that spreading of the floor, but he's dealing with his own ankle foot injury, right? So as those guys both get healthier, I think LJ get healthier faster. You're going to spread the floor out some as well. I also think the ultimate guy is going to get help from that, though, is Milos. When the floor gets spread, Milos has better driving lanes. And his big frame in the lane is going to help him a lot too. We saw it early in the year when he was still kind of getting acquainted to the offense and the team and stuff like that. And so getting more of this downhill kind of stuff out of him with that floor space is going to open him up as well. I also think, for what it's worth, that there will be, as the team figures this out, because it is just January 6th, Monday, January 6th, Houston knocks off TCU 65-46. This team will be better offensively January 26th. This team will be better offensively March 1st. This team will be better offensively March 22nd. This team, if we play that Monday in April, will be a lot better then than they are now, because the time on task, the time playing together, and for as difficult and complex as defense is, and I outlined that a little bit in layman's terms, as much as us that don't work with Samson can understand. The offense is very pro-centric. Hey, we're going to run a couple quick hitter actions. Going to put you in this spot. You make a read. We're going to read off of your read, and so on. And that means playing together is really important. And most of these guys have. The point guard hasn't. Point guard's like your quarterback, right? You got to kind of have that guy steering the ship a little bit. So as Milos and these guys get more used to playing together, those things are going to come more easily as well. I think this offense continues to get better as the year goes on. That roller coaster was a little challenging and daunting. I don't mean to say when it got down to 4, I think it was 3 at one point in the second half, and I was like, okay, like this was a team that beat us last year. Like, what's going on here? And then it was like 3, dunk, block, dunk. I was like, oh, okay, now we're backed up double digits. We're all good, right? Like it was very, very quick, very short lived. But I think that those dry spells, fans are asking, are those ever going to come back to bite us? And I get that. I'm not personally super worried about that. And I just Guaper here who says, go Coogs. Guaper, I like the name, buddy. All right, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the statement Houston may have just made over the last 2 days, in a big kind of way, and their wins over BYU and TCU, and kind of now they have a little bit of a break until next weekend. But before we get to that, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Fun FanDuel fact: the line for this game was 19.5. And TCU scored at the end to make it 19. That made some people really, really happy. I'm very, very sure. But from those big upsets, backdoor covers, NFL playoffs are all here at FanDuel. And right now, new customers can bet $5, get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. That's guaranteed. $200 in bonus bets, win, lose, whatever. Just put that $5 down, get $200 back in your account. FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. So go to the Texans, check out what they're doing this weekend. I got home field advantage in the playoffs. I like the Texans, at least the first weekend. Don't get too mad at me. Just visit FanDuel.com, join today, and get started with $200 back in bonus bets. It's FanDuel.com. Make the NFL playoffs unforgettable with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.